Right, good evening to you all, to this inaugural meeting of the Hanworth Residents Association, and not Residents Association, Hanworth Area Forum. Sorry, I get muddled up with so many of these. But yeah, the Area Forum. Somebody switched me off. No? Right. I take it that you've all got an agenda, and the format that we used, like this evening, that we've had the open format at the early part of the evening, where you can mingle and talk about. That's the way in which we want to move forward, because we're keen to make sure that this particular meeting is very much motivated by the residents. It's not about the councillors, it's about the residents. So, you know, first of all, the good thing about it is if you come in and you get to know your neighbours, some that you might already know, some that you might not, some that you might have not seen for a long while. So you give that opportunity at the beginning to get that. And then we move into the more formal part of the evening, which is this. But even so, I still want to make sure that the residents here get an opportunity to take part in what's happening. So I'm welcoming introductions. I'm welcome the members and residents for the first Hanworth Area Forum. I hope you've had the opportunity to visit the market stall. Anybody been shot? To visit the market stalls and have some refreshments. In this very fine building, the Hanworth Village Hall. I know that it's older than me because I used to go to school opposite this many, many years ago. This building is older than me. So that's saying something. But they certainly kept it in fine form, and it's an ideal spot for our meetings, and that we will continue using it for as long as they have us. Can I take any? We've got apologies for absence and declarations of interest or any other communication from members. Do we have any apologies for absence?
For Councillor Joseph.
Councillor Joseph, yeah. Right. There aren't any other apologies for absence. No. You will have been distributed the minutes of the Bedfont, Hanworth and Feltham Area Forum, which is the one that preceded this one. That's now been split up into the Bedfont Area Forum and the Feltham Area Forum. So they've been split up now. So that's there to formally just to approve the minutes of that. Oh, I don't even know who was there. I was there. You were there, were you? Yes. Yeah. All right. So we'll note the minutes of the last Bedfont Hanworth Area Forum held on the 23rd of March and move on. I don't know, I didn't note any minutes arising from there that we needed to take into account. Nothing that looks like Hanworth. So, the resident state was disappointed by the lack of attendance by the community at the forum. Well, I can't say we're disappointed by this attendance. I think it's fabulous. A very good attendance. When was this? This was 23rd of March. It was the area forum. It's what preceded this one in the Assembly Hall. Yeah. Well, I don't circulate them. I've only got the minutes. I'm sorry? No, this is just formally just to say that preceded this meeting. So this is just to formally say that we're proceeding, and we now move into a new era. Which Hanworth ward meetings? What, Hanworth ward? I'm sorry, I'm not sure quite what you mean. It's not got anything to do with any other meeting. No, this is the area forum. I don't know what. Sorry. No, that I think was this the one in the swimming pool.
Councillor Foot,
Might be the police ward panel, Sharon. Yeah, separate. So this is Hanworth Village and Hanworth Park area forum. The police are here, but it is different. Yeah.
Have we resolved it? It's separate. Well, what is it called?
Police ward panel.
Oh, the police
You know the police ward panel,
yes,
councillor,
I know.
yeah. Yeah,
We
separate.
were there at that, yeah. Sorry, that's yes. No, the area forum is just as it is. It's to bring together residents of the Hanworth area, along with councillors and other officers from the council, so as we can look at the problems, we can look at the events and look at things that we can do to make life better in Hanworth. We're very, very noisy. What's no. Oh, they're all packing up. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, okay. Right, we now go to the Thriving Communities Fund presentation for Hanworth Area Forum. We have a presentation from the Community Partnership Unit on how residents and local volunteer groups can apply for funding. So I invite Kate Wilson to present this item. Is Kate here?
Yeah, I'm here.
there
Sorry, I
you
just
are,
snuck
sorry.
in. Yeah, that's okay.
I'm looking down there.
Thank you very much. So I think I've got some slides. Do I just?
Right.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So I'm just here today to talk to you about our funding programme that we have available for the voluntary sector and community groups and residents in Hounslow. I've had some great conversations with some of the groups that we've funded who are here tonight, which is lovely, so thank you for coming and saying hello. So I'll just briefly talk through all of the funding streams that we have, and then I'll give a few examples of some of the things that we funded in these wards. So we have kind of four main schemes. We've got the Your Neighbourhood grant. So this is the councillor-led grant. So for groups who, for projects that the councillors are keen to get funded in their local area. Again, I'll come on to each in a bit more detail. We have the small grant scheme for up to 1,000, and groups of residents can access this. The revenue grants of up to 30,000 and the capital grants. I'm going to talk in more detail about all of those. So we'll start with the Your Neighbourhood grant because we've obviously got our councillors here this evening. So that is now open again for councillors to bring forward their ideas. We have made a few changes to the sort of focus areas this time round. So this time we're looking for projects that involve sort of physical improvements to your areas, like war memorials or sites of historical interest, improvements to community infrastructure, such as resources for a community centre or youth club, something like that, activities which involve people in improving their environment, so it could be community litter picks or planting events that I know some of you have already led on, things like that, and community art installations. So if you have any ideas that fit into those categories, please do talk to your ward councillors about this because this funding is for you. And for things which have more of a sort of project focus, we have the small grant scheme. So you don't have to be a registered charity to apply for this. You can just be a group of residents that get together. If you've got 6 residents who are keen to do something in the local area, you can come to us and have a chat with us about any ideas you have. We have some sort of quite broad sort of priority areas for this, but really if there's anything that you think would be beneficial for your community, so for example, you want to run some workshops on something for a particular group, or you would like to run a community event, then please do get in touch with us. This one is designed to be quick for you to access, so we accept submissions of applications year round, and we will give you a decision within 4 weeks. So if there's something on the horizon for the later in the autumn that you're thinking that you'd like some funding for, then please do get in touch with us on that one. So our revenue grants, these are for charitable organisations. So we run 2 rounds of this funding per year, and we change our priorities slightly each round. So we work closely with our colleagues across the council to kind of establish the needs within the community, and we sort of define certain focus areas each time round. So you can see there are a few examples of what we had as focus areas in the previous round, which we have just recently closed, but there'll be a new round in September. So if you are involved with a charity or charitable organisation, then please feel free to get in touch with us to find out more about this, or you can sign up to our newsletter as well to be kept informed of any new rounds of funding as they come open. And finally, we've got the Capital Fund. So this is, as you might gather, it's for anything to do with like buildings or green spaces, any kind of community spaces that you think might need some improvement. So this is a 2-stage process, a little bit different to some of our other grant funds. Basically, if you're a resident who has an idea, so for example, you might be seeing, going to your local community centre and thinking, oh goodness, this could do with a bit of a refurbishment, you can bring that forward as an idea for us. You don't need to be a group that can deliver that necessarily. It's about bringing forward ideas. If you are a group that could deliver a project like that, so if you're leasing a building from us, for example, and you would like to do some improvements to it, that's also okay. So first step is send us an expression of interest, and we will look at this, talk to our colleagues across the council, and then come back to you if we think that we can take it forward to a full application, and that those projects might be then delivered internally by one of our teams to make your idea happen, or they might be delivered by you or your organisation. So kind of bringing it back, I've just put down a few examples of some of the things that we funded in the local area. So we have helped contribute towards a new accessible lift at the Kempton Steam Museum, which you'll see some nice pictures on the slide there. We've also supported Project Turnover. These are all projects we supported in the last financial year. So they do work in re-engaging at-risk young people with education. And we've also supported Friends of Hanworth Park House through the Small Grant Fund. So those are just a few examples of some of the groups that we have funded in your local area. And we're really keen to hear from any of you if you do have ideas, or even if you're not quite sure where you'd fit into these funds. We're always happy to have a chat about that. So the 2 people who sort of look after this, obviously myself, Kate Wilson, and my colleague Michelle. So I've got our contact information on these slides here, and you're very welcome to get in touch, and we welcome any conversations about ideas that you have to access this funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. I think that this could be the start of something big. Certainly, I think, you know, it's the first time that we've had the opportunity to say to residents, look, you know, there's money. If you can come up with a good idea, if you can come up with ideas we think will make living in the community better, or you've got ideas about how we can use that money, then contact Kate or any one of her people. She'll set the wheels in motion, and we can go forward. Yes, certainly can.
Because I saw.
Wait for the mic. Here's the mic.
Why? I'm singing. Is this going to start at the beginning of next year?
There's already, I think,
Because I
part
saw-
of it has already started, but you've got several grants there. I mean, the big grant, that's the one, there's one just coming to a close, am I right?
Yeah, so everything's open at the moment apart from the revenue project grants, the 30,000 a year ones. So we're open for applications and happy to chat to you if you have some ideas.
Sorry, you didn't hear me.
Is it just for council property owned, or is it for private properties as well?
So it can be for private properties. It kind of depends on the context around that. So the biggest sort of factor in consideration is how widely it's used by the community. So if there is something that you want to just scope out with us, then I suggest we have a chat later.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, not for your house, for example.
Sorry, yeah, I keep forgetting. I'm old-fashioned. We used to have a big beaker when I was growing up. Right, yeah, it's really, you know, for to be used for the community and activities. Now, some of them may be privately run, but they've got to be aimed at being run for the community, because that's what this is about. This is about the community. Any other questions? Anybody got any ideas? No? I'm sorry?
Place. Yeah, Ms. Patel, it was one of my advanced questions. The last one, I think. My name's Gideon. About the canal, the canal side pathway. The Crane Park. Yeah, and I remember like 4 decades ago, which kind of ages me, there was a plan to build a pathway on concrete from the crematorium side of Hanworth Park all the way to Yeading, in a similar vein to what has existed for a long time from Hanworth Park's south side to Twickenham. And there was a plan to do something about it, not by the council, by, I think, more of a trans-city organisation. And, you know, good idea. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that are, because that would be great. At the moment, I believe you can do the walk at your own risk.
Yeah, it's certainly something we can look at. So we have funded parks projects. So if you do want to sort of discuss it further, then the first stage would be that expression of interest form, which you as a resident are more than welcome to submit. And then we'd have some discussions about what the plans are for the park with our parks team, and we can assess a bit more what's feasible and whether or not that's something we might be able to support with.
Yeah, we have to remember, of course, that Crane Park covers more than one borough. I mean, you know, I've been involved in some of the projects up from the Hillingdon end, and the first thing they've got to do is find a way of getting under or over the motorway there, which has been going on for some time. But that's, I know, is a project that's going forward. We have done work within Crane Park here, and I think I'm sure you were were you on a walk with us when we went round the railway land? Over there. Oh, sorry, I thought you were. But we went over to where the railway land is on Crane Park and looking at the possibilities of opening up elements of that right over to the railway. So there are opportunities there, and you know we welcome any thoughts that other people have. But
Sorry,
you know, it's
if I could, yeah, we did get a small response to that about the river path improvements along the Crane. currently taking place at Donkey Woods, where the old boardwalk is being replaced, along with some additional boardwalk and compact gravel path improvements. The Parks team plan to have on-site progress meetings throughout August and September when the project will be completed. And if you would like to attend one of these meetings, they can invite you to that. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. And if you want more information about the Crane Valley Trail, you can look at the Crane Valley Partnership website for updates. Partnership websites, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There's quite a bit that's going on with Crane Park, but it is a very large project, and as I say, there's at least 3 boroughs with Richmond, Hounslow, and Hillingdon that are involved, as well as some of the other smaller entries into it to get in there. But we welcome any projects that you see with that, and there are. It is progressing a long way. Although it's a big project. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, you can walk from where the crematorium is, crossing the road and into Crane Park itself, going all the way through to Twickenham. Yeah, that's possible now, and in fact, carrying on down almost to the Thames.
I tried to walk to Twickenham Station, which apparently you can do. I mean, no problem going to Medway.
You tried to what, sorry?
To walk on the trail to Twickenham railway station.
Walk on the rail?
Along the river.
Oh, not on the rails?
But not on the rails, no.
No.
Along the river, but I haven't tried the annex to the Duke of Northumberland River. I intend to in Isleworth, Zine Park, but apparently you can't get to Twickenham Station on it. It kind of stops at Medway. But that was a while back anyway.
Yeah, there are elements in there that are a problem, but they are gradually easing them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good 16 years ago I attempted that. So.
I was involved last year with one project through the park there. Anyone else got any thoughts or ideas? Sorry? Oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry, I'm being pointed out. The big board is giving you the contacts with Michelle and Kate. Yes.
Hi,
yeah.
I just wondered at the Mount, where the Tesco's is, the area in front of Tesco's, is that owned by Tesco's itself or the wall? At Tesco's, at the Mount? Yes. I just wondered because it's always an area which is not particularly well looked after and could do with which could do with a bit of love, basically.
Well, it will be. I'm not saying. I don't know whether it's owned by Tesco's or whether they rent it, but it was a pub and they took the building over.
And the wall and the area and the footpath around it is owned by Tesco's. Do we have any influence over that?
I'm sorry?
Do we have any influence over that to get them to make it look a bit nicer?
I'm not quite sure what you mean, the hall.
The footpath?
The footpath
so
is on there.
Yeah, we have an amazingly large crossing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's their land.
Yeah.
So it's part of they rent the land. The council don't rent the land. It's not owned by the council or done that.
And the area down the road towards the big roundabout as well, where all the shops are, where all the footpath is along there, that's presumably owned by the council as well.
That's part of the highway.
And so would this Thriving Communities grant be able to be used to
No, that would be
beautify the area?
We wouldn't be using it for that money. That would come under highways funding.
So that's not something we could do to make the area a little
that's
bit
highways
better.
has the funding for repair of footpaths, etc.
But you talk about potentially putting in planters and things like that.
So we do have, there have been projects where we've collaborated with highways to deliver. So I think if we have a chat about it, we can find out whose responsibility it is, what plans they have for the area, and whether or not it's something that could come through thriving communities.
That would be useful.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Just a quick comment. That's on Zonny A312, and I think that's owned by Transport for London, most of that road.
Yeah, this is, it is a bit, that's why I didn't sort of say, yes, it's ours. The highway itself is Transport for London. It's why you, wherever you see the red boundary, that's Transport for London roads. The pathway, I did have a run-in with Transport for London about the pathway down the other end, down towards where the roundabout is, and I can't say I got very far with them, but they did admit that it was their responsibility, but they didn't admit that they were going to do anything about it. Yes, my dear.
Near the roundabout at the Moolah Dairy, the off-ramp from the A316 from Twickenham, it's very difficult to cross the road from the bus stop over to Hanworth Park. There's a cycle lane there, but there's no crosswalk or anything. I presume that's TfL as well.
Richard, can I answer?
Yeah.
We are already working on it, and I'm saying we are already working on this one for pedestrian crossing.
Good.
So hopefully in the coming next few weeks you can have some positive news. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No? I need to be plugged into it permanently. Right, can I invite Editor, who's our officer for Community Safety Team, along with, sorry? And along with the police, yeah, Lizzie Brocklehurst and Dave Turtle. I can't see Editor, she was here earlier. Oh, there she is. So you're not taking part in it?
She's doing it after the police, yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. Okay, I'm being reorganised.
That'll be a good start. There we go. Lovely. Right, we'll start again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lizzie Brocklehurst.
And good evening, I'm Sergeant Dave Turtle. I'm one of the other sergeants on the neighbourhood team.
Yeah, I'm the ward sergeants for both Hanworth Park and Hanworth Village. And I'll just give you a rundown on the issues that we've got at the minute and what we're trying to do to resolve them. I'll start with resourcing. So for Hanworth Park, we've currently got one DWO, who's PC Lindsay, and one PCSO. And for Hanworth Village, we've got one PC, who's PC Saunders, who has moved across from Hanworth Park to cover Hanworth Village, along with a PCSO called Georgie. So we've got PC Johnson, who some of you may know, who was the DWO for Hanworth Village, who resigned last month. So that's why PC Sanders has moved over to cover. And we do have 2 vacancies, so we're quite low on numbers at the minute, but we are looking to improve those. So I'll start with Hanworth Park. So our ward priorities that we've got is Hanworth Park itself. So that would be the mopeds and drug dealing. Then we've got Slattery Road, De Broom Road and Lettering Park that it runs onto. And again, that is ASB mopeds. And finally, we've got New Chapel Square. So our officer, PC Webb, who covers Felton West, has done a great job in moving along all the antisocial behaviour and crime from the High Street in Felton. But unfortunately, the groups have now started to congregate on New Chapel Square. So we've got a walk around with members of the council booked for the end of July, where they're going to hopefully come up with some plans and ways that we can try and reduce the antisocial behaviour. For Lettering Park, we're continuing our patrols, and we've also got a police camera there, which we can view on our tablets, which is quite handy. So when we see stuff going on, we're able to get down there, which cuts a bit of time from it being called in. We're looking to organise joint operations with traffic as well for the moped crime, which is obviously quite difficult when we're out on foot to chase mopeds. So we are looking for some joint working with traffic and other police units that can help us to tackle that. In terms of results, we've had a closure order and issued a CPW, community protection warning, so that's obviously helping in some of the reduction that we've got as well. And we've got a working group meeting at the end of July to cover Cromwell, Queens, Kings and Hanworth Park. And so that's following a walk around that we've had with residents and the members of the council, and which has obviously gone quite well. In the first meeting, hopefully they'll implement some new strategies to tackle the ASB in that area as well. Moving on to the other ward, which is Hanworth Village. And our main priorities at the moment, so Swift Road and the Hollands, we've got a lot of youth at ASB. We have, again, set up a camera there, which we've got access to. Crane Park is another one of our priorities. We've got a lot of stolen mopeds being driven around as well as being dumped in the area, which is causing understandable upset to residents. Bear Road as well, we've got a lot of vehicle nuisance. So our safer transport team, we've led 2 successful operations in the Felton West area, tackling speeding, so with the speed guns, and we've done 2 operations in the last sort of 8 weeks and have been able to get 15 processes for speeding, so hopefully we can run another one on Bear Road. And I know from speaking to some of the residents tonight, there's other locations that we need to tackle as well. Hounslow Road car park, there's drug users at night. We're working with the council to try and get the gates locked, which hopefully will put a stop to that. And finally, for Hanworth Village, we've got Butts Farm Estate. So again, they've established already a working group, which consists of our S&T officers, safer community, youth, to tackle the ASB there. And luckily we have, due to that work, there's been a decrease in the complaints for that particular area. And we've been able to secure some closure orders on premises, community protection notices and some antisocial behaviour warnings. So some of the statistics that we've got. So for Hanworth Park, in April we had 6 new antisocial behaviour reports, 14 in May and 33 in June. But from those, when we compared the statistics, so for May, although there were 6 reported, some of them were duplicates or multiple reports to the same location, so there was only 4 new problems. Likewise, from the 14 reported in May in Hanworth Park, there was only 3 that were new incidents. Likewise, the 33 in June, there was only 4 new incidents. So it seems like the communities are quite good at reporting the issues when they're coming in, which really does help us because we log them onto our one of our systems, and then they get passed to our team, and we can go out and know that they are our local issues and can actually look at ways to tackle it. In terms of, I'll just cover Hanworth Village as well. So for April, there was 18 reported, and 13 of these were incidents, so there was 5 that were duplicates of that. There was 50 reported in May, but they were for 15 locations, and 99 in June for 18 locations. In terms of crime, the main one that we're getting at the moment is violent and sexual offences. So there were 40 recorded in April in Hanworth Park and 30 in May for Hanworth Park. Likewise for Hanworth Village, 34 in April and 43 in May, which is obviously quite high, and we're probably expecting a peak during the summer months. So Inspector Binns and Inspector Sharma have come up with a policing plan which will cover extra resources where we can, putting extra officers on overtime. As I've discussed, we are quite short on numbers. So getting other officers in on overtime to help us tackle those issues. One last thing I did want to mention is Streetwise, which I know has been put out and circulated to residents and the public, and it's a government-run scheme, and it's about it's not to report crime, and you can find it on Google, and it's if you're walking along the street at night or at any time at a certain location. It could be somewhere that's particularly dark, no street lighting, and you feel quite unsafe. You can log on to, if you just Google Streetwise, and you can put on there where you felt safe, and it links back to us, and we can view the activity. And if we're getting similar reports of alleyways, for instance, that people don't feel safe walking in, we can joint work with the council to try and get the extra lighting, any cameras or anything like that, or up our patrols. So I think when it was first introduced, it was extremely popular, and in the last sort of 6 months or so, there hasn't been much activity on the site, so there's not much for us to go on. But I think if everyone is able to log on and use it, it could be a really useful tool for both us and for you. That's all from me. Thank you.
Did you have anything to add, Sergeant?
Just one point, that Leitrim Park, I was the former head of the schools and youth for the borough, and we were finding a lot of weapons in the park, secreted in the bushes. I just encourage residents here to think about helping the community as a whole to go and do some weapon sweeps down the park. All right. It's because it's such a big issue for young people, and it's a big issue for the communities. The more weapons we remove from parks and open spaces, the less opportunity these individuals have to commit serious crime. And the second point, it's next Friday at Hounslow House at 6 o'clock, there's a big event around the One Met. There's something called One Met, and it's about how the Commissioner, the Metropolitan Police, is going to be looking at turning around the police service, and we want to hear from residents in Hounslow at that event, and there'll be a number of police officers there from different units, and the council putting a buffet on as well. But this is your opportunity to attend and speak to senior police officers and senior councillors and officials to find out what's happening with the police service in the future. It's a really big event, so if you can attend, I'd love to see you there myself next week, next Friday, 6 o'clock. Thank you.
I just have I don't know if this has been flagged, but there has been reports of antisocial behaviour in by the Tesco, the Horse and Groom Tesco. Has this been flagged? Because there has been reports from the residents that there has been antisocial behaviour in that area. So have you come across anything there?
So where exactly was it?
The Horse and Groom Tesco. So you know the Mount Cafe, that Tesco. Do you know where that is?
I haven't. So I was meant to mention at the start.
The Horse and Groom one. Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's Hampton Road West. Hampton Road West.
Okay, yeah, that Tesco.
That one, yeah.
No, nothing that I've seen that's been on our systems, but is this something that's been fed back to you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll provide my details and we'll log it, and I will keep a lookout, but there is nothing from our systems that said there have been.
Okay.
But again, these people who are reporting, if you encourage them 101 or report online, and it will feed into our antisocial systems, and it will help us to deal with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Yes, regarding social, Yeah, actually, I have two questions. Number one about safer neighborhood teams. Are they still active in the areas? And my second question is about local residents' involvement and cooperation with police. So I sent an email earlier on one of your email as well, and someone replied, but then we couldn't proceed further. So how can we, like resident groups, support or work with police to tackle these issues which we are already talking, antisocial behavior, and at the moment we have quite few burglary attempts on Hounslow Road. I myself had 2 burglary attempts in the last 3 years. So how can we help and support police? Because safety and security is my topic as well. So I would love to help and support and ask other residents to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the best way that everyone can help us to do our job is to let us know what's going on. It's quite difficult to tackle crime if we don't know it's happening. As I did explain, we are quite short with numbers at the minute, so it is quite hard to, when we're sort of trying to police reactively as opposed to proactively at the minute. But like I say, yeah, keep reporting stuff in and we will get to it. We will do our best. And also when the numbers, and also when stuff's reported, if we get a spike in burglaries, robberies, knife crime, we put in bids for extra funding and extra officers to come in. And then we're able to put together proactive operations. So if it's happening at a Friday night at 2 in the morning, we'll get officers to come in for those shifts to cover those hours. So the key is to report it, and we will do what we can. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I want to safer neighborhood teams.
Safer neighbourhood team?
Yeah. No, safer neighborhood teams. They used to be there.
So, yeah, we are safer neighbourhood team. So.
No, but you used to have residents part of safer neighborhood teams as well. So it's not happening anymore?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
Like in safer neighborhood teams, you used to include residents as well. So
Okay.
in each area, if it's quite old, because I know there were safer neighborhood teams before, and local residents, they used to be part of those teams with police, local police representatives, and they used to have regular meetings.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is ward panels and some of these street briefings that we used to do in the past.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Well, this is all around numbers, sadly, and we you know, it's better to under-promise and over-deliver, I think, from a policing point of view. We can't, the things we did 5-10 years ago, we have to be honest, we can't deliver all those things that you're asking. So what we are saying is we are dependent on intelligence-led policing, so the public reporting issues through 101 and online, but also actually Hounslow Police Station is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Go in there and report. So if we have that information, we can then target our resources, as my colleagues just said. And in fact, we've just had given some money from the council for catalytic converter theft, for example, across the borough. So, you know, we are actively asking for money once we know there's a problem in a particular area with a particular type of crime. So if you're saying that it's ASB in your particular area, you know, we're saying that we've got an operation going to be launched shortly across the whole of Hounslow, but also around this area as well to tackle that. So it's really important you phone in. Please keep phoning. Yeah. Thank you.
So how do we contact you was the question? Okay, thank you. So if it's an emergency, obviously it'll be 999. Otherwise, it's best to either report it online. Sometimes 101 is quite busy, so report it online. And all of that stuff will come through to us. So once a report... So if you go onto the Met Police website, yeah, so if you Google Met Police, and then there's a tab on there, which is quite obvious, like on the front screen, you just click report a crime, and it will take you through a load of stages and take all your details, and then that will then get sent through. And if it's an issue that's on our ward, if it's a crime, we get notified about it.
Hi. So the lady here, yeah.
Oh yeah, I live next door to Victoria School. In Feltham. And basically, the kids throw stones at my windows, and I've had Victoria, and I've had it's cost 17,000. Yeah, it's cost £17,000 so. Yeah, it's cost 17,000 so far. No, the housing association, because one window is £3,000 and the balcony ones are £2,000. And then I've got another window what they smashed the other week.
So the children from the school are throwing stones
Yeah,
at your building.
yeah.
What does the school's officers say?
Or they turn around and say, report it when you see them. When you're not there and you're
Sorry?
out, report it, that's all they say. When you get home, then you realise that your windows are smashed.
Have you been reporting these incidents?
Yeah.
Yeah, and have police...
I've got crime references and all that. All I asked was school if they can put AquaTurf in that corner. I'm not the only one, and the 2 other residents have had windows smashed as well. Like my windows go from floor to ceiling, so they're 7 foot.
Which school is it?
Victoria Junior
Victoria.
School.
Is it one of our schools?
No, it's in Hanworth Park. Just drop me an email. Yeah? Yes. I will start it off.
Sorry? It's a local authority school.
It's primary school.
There.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Primary school.
Well, you can deal with it. I'm not sure what you're saying. You'll deal with the case. Yeah, right.
I'd like to have
Can
a
you-
quick chat with you. Maybe we could do it after this. That would be great, and we'll have a chat about that. But thank you for your question.
Hi. You mentioned that in Lettering Park you have a tablet, you can link up to the camera via your tablet. Is that the same case with the cameras on Hanworth Park?
So we've got 3 that I think it's 1 per each of our wards. So there's one which is I think at the bottom of Butts Farm. So we've got that one, Felton West and Lettering Park. So our device went while they sort of reinstalled stuff, and it arrived back this week. So we are able to monitor those cameras and move them around for those 3 locations.
So there's permanent cameras on Hanworth Park near the children's playground. Do you have direct access to those as well?
No, so we've only got access to those 3 that I mentioned, and it doesn't cover the children's park. On the Lettering Park one, it covers the main road and the other road, which is at the junction of Lettering Park, and I think it covers the entrance. So that's the only ones that we have access to. They're temporary, and we have monthly meetings about the cameras and the locations and the effectiveness of how they're being used. So they're not permanent structures. So if we feel like there's bigger issues elsewhere and we're not getting anything from using them at that location, they're moved, and that's reviewed monthly.
So when I've reported incidents of bikes on Hanworth Park and noted that I'm standing below a CCTV camera, how do you get access to that camera?
So they'll be the council ones. So we only have access to those 3 that we've requested and that have been put up on a trial basis. We don't have access to every single camera on the borough. They're run by the council.
Why?
Where the council has an area over in Bedford, in Brentford, where all of the council's cameras are linked. There used to be the ones that were in Hounslow, in Treaty Road. They've all been moved to one joint place now, and the number have been expanded. But what you're talking about are these are a different set of cameras that the
Yeah, they're called Nomad
operate,
cameras.
but they can be linked in, but they're extremely expensive, and they tend to be moved around to try and cover. You know,
I understand that. My concern is that there is permanent cameras on Hanworth Park, and how can they be used better by the police, and how can the council link in better to those cameras for the police to stop asphalt issues and motorbike issues on the park, which we know about?
So the cameras in the park, in Hanworth Park, they are council ones. We don't have access, but if there are reports of issues, then we can go and view those cameras with them. And our issue at the moment, which we've got in multiple parks over these 2 wards, is the mopeds, which is very difficult because we can't close off the parks to access to mopeds, which I was speaking to a gentleman about earlier. because of issues like mobility scooters not being able to enter, which we obviously can't shut it off to them. So there are these issues with mopeds. We're aware of them and we are looking at ways to try and tackle it. We've reached out to traffic to try and lead some joint operations, but it's quite difficult. We're not there every single day. They are coming and going, and we understand that it is frustrating and it's not nice to see and it is quite scary sometimes. But as I say, please keep reporting it, because the more reports we get, the more work that we can do with it.
Is there any way of having a better link for the police via these cameras on the park?
So no, the cameras that we've got, because we've got the main reports for these cameras were those three locations I've discussed. If we feel and we get the reports that in our next meeting, which I'll definitely flag and thanks for raising, that Hanworth Park would be beneficial for us to have cameras, that's definitely something that I'll bring up in the next meeting.
I think it's been an ongoing issue for a long time, which we've known about, and with the installation of the CCTV cameras near the play park, it just seems kind of logical to be able to hook them up and have a better link between the council and the police. They exist, they're there. Is this not possible?
So although there's CCTV cameras, that's for them, the council, to monitor. So we will go and patrol, we'll be alerted, we get called about crime and we can respond if it's an emergency or within an hour if it's a non-emergency, but we're still required. But we've got the cameras in certain places, likewise the council do, and they can notify us if they see crime happening. So then we go, pardon? Yeah, I appreciate that, and I understand that it's not frustrating. It's frustrating, especially in the area that you live. But having the cameras there isn't a deterrent. We get told about it, we go, and these officers that are the local ward officers are constantly patrolling these parks. But when they're there on foot, they can't compete with the mopeds. And we reach out to other units to try and come and assist us, such as traffic, to lead these joint operations, to try and tackle the mopeds. But it's something that at the moment we're stuck with what we can do about it.
Unfortunately, we don't have any park rangers anymore, and when they were in place, they were a good deterrent for asthma issues on the park. Is that going to, are they going to be put back in at any point, council officers?
Wish we did still have the park rangers. It wasn't us that took them away. The funding was taken away from us, so we couldn't fund it.
So is there any way of getting better funding for the camera, which is in Hounslow
Park?
No,
the cameras are more expensive than the park rangers.
But there's already one, right? So there's a camera in place, and if the police don't have direct access to the camera, then you're not going to see when something happens.
No, well, if you've got a camera and you want, and you've got to have, what you're asking for is you've got to have a police officer that can sit down and watch the camera. That isn't, that's not the way it works. It can't happen like that.
So who is
the camera
watching?
is there to take measures and to record things that are happening, which gives them then the police officers notice that a place is becoming a problem area. It's not. You don't suddenly have a camera and then,
But I've just been told there's the roaming cameras are there.
I'm sorry.
Are they not?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Not at that particular location. So we've got 3 roaming cameras where the officers sit in the office when they're doing their paperwork and other stuff, and they look at their cameras and have it, and they're just taking a look, and they also record. So if a resident or there's a crime report that comes in, they've got that specific camera where there's not necessarily council CCTV, and they've got the footage, which is obviously helpful when there's reports of stuff, they can backdate it. They sometimes sit and watch the footage while they're doing their reports and other duties, and then they'll see, oh, there's a group congregating at that location, and then they go down there. But it's not feasible for them to sit and watch hours and hours of footage waiting for people to turn up, which is what they've got officers in the council doing, that when they do notice stuff, it is called in.
But are they calling it in? Because we've got the council having a room with all this camera and CCTV being recorded. Is there anyone actually calling you to say, we've seen this on the CCTV. It doesn't sound like it is. And
So-
that's why this lady is having this conversation.
Yeah, and I appreciate your frustration, but it does get to us. So they'll see it. There'll be calls in from residents, but
But have you seen it? Have you seen the council tell you that these bikes are underneath this camera?
Not me personally, but I know that it happens. I joined this unit in April. When I was an officer before that in Ealing, I heard it constantly. They're always calling up saying, we've got this in this location, we've got that. Likewise, there's calls from the public, which are circulated daily, and I know that our local officers are constantly down in that park, picking up mopeds that have been stolen and left there. So they do a lot with that, but they're not there all the time to be able to do it. Likewise, when it comes in, it's not always on an immediate response. When Hounslow is an extremely busy borough, there's not always an officer that's able to go there. So we're receiving these calls, but not every time are we able to get there in time for them to be there.
I think the other issue is what you're asking about is an integrated CCTV control room. And we're not in a position to work with the local authority to put that in place with the funds we've got. But, we've talked about the nomad cameras, which are these cameras that are moved monthly, or every couple of months, depending on what the crime issue is. And they were put in there for a reason, and that is for groups of views who were causing a threat and anxiety to residents. So we've done that. We've responded to you with the concerns you've had about those people. But, I used to cover Hounslow Heath, and there's another aspect to this, which is to design out the crime. So to stop these bikes getting onto the Heath or whatever it is, first of all. So, put in those kissing gates, used to call them kissing gates, stop these mopeds coming in. So there's something that can be done, and you're right, if that is still an ongoing problem, maybe there needs to be a joint approach to designing that problem out somehow. So thank you for flagging it up.
Hi, I want to go back to an issue that I had in March in where I live, which is Batelli Place on Monroe Lane off Victoria Road. In the other building, there was drug paraphernalia and used needles in the communal areas, and there were actually images and stuff, and I sent them to Hanworth Park SNT email, and I never heard anything back. Then a police officer said she came round to safely remove them, but she couldn't get in the other block, which I didn't understand because there's 35 flats in there. And then she said that, she'll come round a couple of days later, and hopefully, fingers crossed, she'll be able to enter the building, like literally 4 days later. And then I never heard from him again, and I actually don't know where these used needles and paraphernalia went. I chased her, and I never heard back from her again. So I'm still waiting since March to know where these used needles and drug paraphernalia went.
Okay, thank you for raising that. I'm sorry to hear that as well, and that you feel let down. I joined this unit in April, so I'm not aware of that particular issue. But again, if you would like to have a chat after this, I'd be happy to go through that and get to the bottom of that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay.
Thank you. Also, a couple of weeks ago, there's a bench on our road outside our property on Batelli Place, which I've complained to the council about because I don't know why they put it there. It's just a random bench where you can't really see anything. And I've asked them to remove it, and they've said no. I was walking past it, and there were 2 kids in school uniform grinding weed on it, and I reported it again. I did get a reply back, I'll give you that, and they did say that they would increase patrols outside schools and stuff because these kids were in their school uniform, but then there were no patrols on that actual road.
Okay. That's something, again, I'll find out. I do remember hearing about that road. It does sound familiar. With those patrols, it would most likely be carried out, and the liaison would be done with the schools officers if they were in school uniform. So that's not our particular remit. But if it is, was that a one-off incident, or is it something that you're sort of seeing regularly?
Because last year in the summer, again, the council are aware of this because I don't like that bench being outside my property. But last year in the summer, there was a man who was sunbathing and he actually had his pants pulled down and his bum on view. And there's 2 schools outside that road, you know, St. Lawrence and Victoria School. And I actually did inform the council and said this bench needs to be removed because you sit on the bench and the only thing you can see is look into flats. And there's a lot of antisocial behaviour on that bench, especially in the summer with late night drinking because it's off the high street, so it's quieter and the police don't patrol down there. And I don't know why they put that bench in, don't know why it's still there. It is causing antisocial behaviour, especially when it's outside 2 schools and kids are grinding weed. Like, I actually saw them. They didn't care that I walked past them and saw them. And the man sunbathing his bum. So, you know, I just don't understand. And that also has been reported to the council last year.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
anyway.
again, thank you for raising that, and I think it would be good if us 3 had a conversation after and we can go through some of the issues that you've got. I think that would be great.
Can I just ask when the police meeting was at Hounslow House again? Because somebody missed it and just wanted to note the date. Thanks.
Friday, this coming Friday, 6 o'clock. This coming Friday, yeah. Yeah, Friday as in
The date.
next Friday.
What's the date?
28. 28.
6 o'clock,
Friday.
Hounslow House.
Yeah, don't turn up
Mark,
tomorrow.
write it down. Thanks.
Okay, Vishnu, you wanted a question, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Richard. First of all, I would like to say thank you for coming up here and presenting this presentation, and also would like to welcome to you in the ward. Yes,
Thank you.
It looks like you are just coming in, joining in the ward. Right, you come up with the antisocial behavior. We would like to know that's in a breakdown of the antisocial behavior. Yeah, there are many things include on the antisocial ABS. So if you come up with the breakdown, the knife crime, antisocial behavior, or any particular thing, or burglary, then if you come up with that breakdown with the status, then that would be much helpful to us. Yeah, because now it comes together, everything is mixed up, so we cannot track down that which area that we need to focus on or you need to focus on. So that's why would have been nice if you come up with the breakdown, everything that's moped, burglary, knife crime, all sort of things, and that will help us. And other things, if you could come up next time, that would be helpful.
I've got those now if you would
Have
like
you?
to hear them. Yeah.
If that is, then it would have been nice. We want to hear, that one. And you also come up with the speed. Yeah, so would have been nice that, if you let us know, ward councillor, let them know that, when you are taking place, maybe you go with the mobile camera to take the speed. So that would be really nice for us. And whether you have issue any speed notice to the drivers, that would be helpful. Because area become now is only 20 Mbs. So of course, there are a lot of drivers who are speeding, which is very dangerous. So that would helpful, please.
Thank you. So I do have the statistics for a breakdown of drugs, robbery, violence, sexual assaults and weapons, if you would like to hear those now. I'm mindful of time. Is that a yes? Yeah, lovely.
Yes.
So I'll start with Hanworth Park. So I've got the statistics for April and May. So we have in April for Hanworth Park for drugs, there was 1 incident reported, and this is as recorded crime, not antisocial behaviour, so actual crime reports. So 1 in April and 3 in May. For robberies, we had 2 in April and 1 in May. And joint together, so violent offences and sexual assaults, we had 40 in April and 30 in May. No reported weapon possessions in April, but we had 1 in May. And then for Hanworth Village, we had, for drugs, 1 in April, 2 in May. 1 for robbery, but 1 in both April and May. For violence and sexual assaults, 34 in April and 43 in May. And then 1 weapon possession offence in April and none reported in May. So they're the breakdown we've got. Also Operation Rush, which is something that I started for Feltham West when we had reports of speeding. There we've run, I think I did mention it, we've had 2 operations within the last sort of couple of months, and the first one we had 7 processes for speeding, and I think with the next one it was about 5 processes for speeding and multiple warnings as well. So we are looking to do these, and with some of the issues that I've spoken to some of you about tonight, speeding in other roads and areas on the Hanworth wards, is we will start looking at doing these speeding operations there as well. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Editor, did you want to say? Yeah, okay, I'm watching the time, so I don't want to cut you short.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, officers. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm so sorry. It's probably getting on, and I think you've probably had the best of the police show this evening. But so we're from Community Safety. My name is Fazana Wangde, and I'm the operational manager. And this is, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Edita, and I'm a Safer Communities Coordinator for Feltham, Bedford, and Hanworth.
So we are just going to go through a few slides just to let you know about what our team does. Hopefully that will help just, give you a better picture. Right there we go. I'm using this. Should we? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I think I've skipped one. Oh, okay, so our team consists of Safer Communities coordinators. Their primary role is to engage with the community and talk to them about stuff that is concerning them. So, for example, we would look at hearing things around antisocial behavior. I know we've had quite a lot about that. There is certain things that are going to be clearly crime, but there might be things like, for example, some support that we could do in terms of getting other agencies together to try and resolve an issue. We're using a preventative public health approach. So what we want to try and do is, hear from the community and engage with the community. And of course, you might have a better idea of what is going to be the most useful change in your community in order to reduce crime and antisocial behavior. We work in partnership with the police and with other agencies, and we'll have a little bit more about that because Editor in a few slides is going to talk about how some effective cases that have taken place in the wards that you're in. So this evening, we're also going to mention that we've got a new project underway in our team. It's called the Young Adults Engagement Service. It's targeted for 18 to 25-year-olds. And the point of this is that we know that there are some people who are unsupported in the community between those ages, but unfortunately, they are maybe too old for some services, but still in need of support because maybe they are causing antisocial behavior, or maybe they are committing crime, or maybe they're involved with gangs or drug dealing and things like that. So we have 2 people that are going to be, oh, that's a different slide than I expected. Well, anyway, so we've got Denise West, who's with us here this evening, and we've also got Leon James. I was just sorry about that, and they're doing that. So just to explain how this sits, so we sit as part of the community safety team, and we are linked in with other services as well. So, for example, if we've got people that are maybe impacted by domestic abuse, we would link them in with that. If there is some other sort of vulnerabilities, we would try and connect them with whatever support they require. Oh, sorry about that. Shall I let you just take over for a second and explain your work?
So meanwhile, when Fazana is checking the technical difficulties, I just wanted to touch on some stuff that we're doing in specifically those two wards. So part of my work is the casework. So people come over from different angles. The councillors bring the cases from their constituents. We have housing associations, we have the police. We have different residents. Sorry, it's not, sorry. Is it better? Okay. So the cases can come to us from different sources, the police, the councillors, the residents themselves, and they can be very, very different. So we have people coming over having problems with antisocial behavior in their blocks, needing to move, needing to contact their landlords or other housing providers. We have people having disputes with their neighbors or with people in their communities. So we help with those. So cases can be very different, can be personal or can be estate-wise. And we have several of them. I have the slide with showing the numbers, more or less what we're working on now. A lot of them are long-term things that we're liaising with different professionals. For example, in Hanworth Park, we had issues with house of multiple occupations in one area. So we're trying to build this network, this working group of different professionals and the residents, so whenever something happens, there is a very easy chain of communication, so that can be resolved. And then, let's say, if the police has, usually people complain that they're not coming back to them, or they're having problems with reaching the officers, then we're coming in and we're providing this feedback. We're making sure that people know what's going on. And this has been working very effective. We have the different landlords of HMOs, we have housing enforcement team, planning team, the police, the estate enforcement. So we all work together, and the residents are familiar with what we're doing, know how to reach us. And I think that this is what we're aiming to do in those type of situations, having this chain of communication and transparency. Another ones over here, Hanworth Village, for example. Hanworth Village has been quite busy, I would say, that there is a lot of stuff coming over, but also we have very proactive councillors and the police who comes over and who asks us for help. So I think that the biggest win, I can say, from this area is building very good relationship with housing associations, because we can access Hanso housing, for example, quite easy, but there is a lot of other housing providers. There is managing agents, Richmore Housing Partnership, A2 Dominion, Paragon Housing, so we're trying to work with them all. And then if the police can't reach certain individuals, we ask the housing teams to help us, or the managing agents from the private housing. So this has been very, very successful in terms of, for example, the antisocial behavior in Bud's Farm. We were able to, working together, to get few people to be approached by the police, enforced against, and now we can see this period of coming down. But this is something that we're looking at this area specifically, like as an ongoing long-term project. So, yes, those are most of the things that I don't want to bug you with taking much more time. But if you feel that there is issues that you would like to raise with us, that there is something that you might need directions, or you might need us to look into it and advise you, or take it on, please reach out. Our contact details, all of them are there, so we're very happy to have any feedback and any queries that you have. We might not be able to help, but we will definitely advise you what to do further.
Yeah, any questions for the officers at all? No? Oh, yes, okay.
So just going back to the area around the Mount and Tesco's, there's been reported over the past few weeks some homeless people sleeping there, and I wonder what engagement you have with them to support them getting into appropriate housing rather than having to be out on the street.
So I wasn't aware of this particular issue. However, if there is one, we definitely can do some patrolling. And what I would do in this situation, definitely contact the rough sleeping team and the sustainment team, which is the part of homelessness, independence and prevention services at the council. So they have their outreach workers and who are gonna go, who know a lot of people who might be rough sleeping in this area. And we would make sure that they know that they can be approached, that they can be offered help. If there is a matter of immigration, whatever, they will be given this help. We also work very closely with substance misuse services, which is ARC, and we can always ask them come over with us. So this is something that we do. Normally we didn't know that, I didn't know this area, but several in Feltham North and Feltham West, sometimes in the blocks we have those queries, that there is blocks who are, let's say, easily accessible or particularly maybe nice inside or having those, landings, and the housing associations would come over and ask us to help with that. So that's what we would do. We would make sure that the services, the outreach services from rough sleeping community and from substance misuse, because that's very often connected, that they can approach them. Sometimes, even with this assistance, people choose not to take this help. And as unfortunate as it is, we will keep trying, but it might be that the situation will have to come to enforcement, and that's when we will go with the police.
So, sorry, I know earlier you mentioned about the parks and e-scooters, etc. I hope you don't mind, Chair, but I just wanted to say that I know there are some meetings with the senior people with parks that we've been asked to attend in relation to these concerns over, I think there's 2 or 3 parks particularly where it's been raised. So I'm not sure what that progress is going to look like, but I just wanted to assure you that we are aware and we are taking it quite seriously.
Any more questions from anyone else? Right, we haven't exhausted you. Right, okay then. Anyway, thank you very much for your attendance, and I do appreciate it. Sorry? Have you presented questions? What, with the police officers?
No.
Yeah, which we spoke about, yeah.
We're looking for answers, Mr. Karen.
Jyoti, Mike.
We are looking for answers, Mr. Karen. We don't have a response to all of them, but the response, we continue to find out and would email you once we do have a fuller response to all those questions. So we told you about the Crane Park River question. As far as Hanworth Park House, it's not being led by Parks, and that we will find out who is leading on that project.
I never suggested it had anything to do with Park House. It was just an update on what's happening regarding...
Yeah, so we've not found an answer to that one yet, but we will continue to see who is best able to respond to that. And we will email it to you. Okay.
Because I believe at there was a council meeting and the vote was in
I'm
favour.
sorry, a council meeting where?
A planning meeting.
I'm Richard Griffiths, the chair of the Friends of Hanworth Park House.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a different organisation for us.
So a couple of months ago, there was a planning committee at Hounslow House which approved the plans for restoration and the project of the apartments on site. That now sits at the GOA, the Mayor of London's office, where it still sits now. He needs to give the final approval. So we're just waiting for that. And once he gives the final answer, and then it's all systems go.
And can well, you probably know better than anyone, I'm surprised the council doesn't know, but how much of the parkland is projected to be lost?
Right.
None of the parkland itself, the grounds around the house are to be built on. It's all consented land that have been approved over the years for hotels and other projects from the early 90s, mid-90s and early 2000s. So it's all within the boundaries. The park itself will be enhanced. There's a Hanworth Park master plan, and there's other ideas to enhance the green belt around it.
So none of the parts we can walk now will be lost?
No areas will be lost.
Thank you. And regarding my other questions, you got no answers at all?
Well, the Hanworth Park Community Woodland proposal, the community woodland proposal was overwhelmingly supported by the community, and in response, the Parks team have now commissioned a landscape architect to develop the concept design to a technical and construction design. The landscape architect company will be holding events this summer to update the local community on the updated design and proposals.
Okay. And regarding that infernal tree, which I've bashed my head against a good number of times.
And then in regards to revenue generation, the community woodland proposal is not targeted at income generation. The proposal aims to add more quality green space into the public realm. It is also focused on climate change mitigation and nature recovery. The proposal does, however, have a cafe and bike hub, which will create employment if these proposals are delivered. Okay.
And the tree, anything about that?
No.
No.
Yeah, right. Les,
well, I did what was requested, send your questions in advance.
Right.
It's,
No, we'll get that into a table for you. Yeah, right.
Sorry, I haven't seen it.
Clueless, yeah. I just got one general point to make. When I brought up initially the matter of this tree, which is over there, for those just so they're in the know, it hangs at an angle about 5'10" in the air, and it's a big health hazard, in my opinion.
Who have you reported it to?
I emailed Parks. I got an automatic response saying you can only send in a form now, which I did with pictures. I got an automatic response to that. And then a Miss Cower in November last year actually replied to the email, which no one was supposed to respond to, and said she will bring it to someone's attention. I sent in a follow-up email. There was no response. At the last area forum, not in March, in June, in Feltham, I spoke to Michelle Hutchinson, and she said, I don't deal with this. I can forward your email with all of this to the right people. And she responded to my email, since when I have heard nothing. There seems to be an issue of you send in emails and no one bothers to reply at all. Generally speaking, that's my experience.
I can't really answer that. I mean, you're saying something, but I don't have any. I've got no facts in front of me. So I can't answer it.
I can send everything to Miss Potel. I did offer to do so actually, but Miss Hutchinson has all the emails, which I did forward her.
We can pick this up. We'll pick it up internally.
Say that again?
We'll pick this up internally and see if we can get you a response. We'll figure out whether it's Parks or who the tree belongs to and see if we can get you a response, Gideon.
One day someone is really going to cause themselves a serious injury and will sue the council for thousands. Not me. I'm kind of aware where it is by now.
You've reported it through some people here now. You've been told that it's picked up. Right, is there any other questions for anyone? So it's a lady there,
I live near the Moolah Dairy. Sorry? I live near the Moolah Dairy in Queen's Avenue, and there is a stream called the Moat, which runs along Moat Side and Queen's Avenue. And when I was growing up here, that stream was full of water. It had fish in it, it had ducks and other birds. Now it's dry. It only gets water in it when it rains heavily. And it seems like it's smelling and blocked somewhere along the line, maybe not in our area. I just wondered who's responsible for that moat.
Yeah, my understanding is it's Thames Water.
Oh.
If it's the lake, the one that runs parallel to the road.
I'm sorry?
Is it the one that runs parallel to the road?
It runs behind the houses on Queen's Avenue and Moat Side.
Yes. Sorry?
You can know who is the responsible, I think.
Yeah, I will respond this one. We are working about that stream, and the bit more what's going on and what happening is the Tudor Court Resident Group Chairman, Mr. Nick, he also knows this area very well, and we are working on that issues. It's been quite long. It is not the Thames water issue, but it is some other issues that involve. And I think correctly is Emily can explain to you what's going on about this Maud Lake. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. I can't quite explain, but we think it's the Environment Agency. So I am sat next to Nick and he knows the area really well. So Councillor Cameron has looked into this before. She's flagged it with Parks. So we can pick the trail up and see whether it's Thames Water Environment Agency and see whether there's an issue at hand that is currently happening that's been reported or not been reported. We've had this at other area forums where we're not sure, how to report to the Environment Agency or Thames Water. So it'll be some good learning for all of us. So we can bring that back in some feedback, definitely, and make sure that that gets flagged again for you. Thanks.
Thank you. I did email 4 questions in. If I can just very briefly outline what they are, I'm happy to wait for a response. Excessive speeding on Felton Brook Way, often at more than twice the legal speed limit. Adita was investigating if a temporary speed camera could be installed. Haven't heard anything since. The disgraceful state of the fencing adjacent to the footpath running east-west to the immediate south of Rectory Meadow, which I discussed with yourself and Councillor Cameron earlier on this month. Muller Dairy roundabout, any updates, progress please. I know there's something in the pipeline. And basically TfL's total lack of interest in the above roundabout and the A316 Countryway in general. It's an absolute disgrace, and TfL do nothing about the rubbish, the overgrown hedgerows. They're not interested. Doesn't matter how many times you email them, they're not interested in the slightest. Thank you.
Be able to pick that up to contact TfL.
So we're already in conversations with TfL, so myself, I'm facilitating that with Councillor Cameron and Councillor Grunk and Nick, and highways and road traffic and road teams. But yeah, as we know, TfL are a law unto their own, but we're still having those conversations. We're still asking, we're still trying to put that at the top of their agenda, but as we know, they manage the whole of London. So yeah, I've replied to Nick this week, and he knows that we've had a response from somebody in TfL to say, we are following this up with the sponsorship team, and we've said as firmly as we can, it's not good enough. No. The last we heard from you was January, and it's not good enough. So we need a bit more information. If you've told us that something's going to happen, we want to know more. Okay. So yeah, we're on that.
think the gentleman has covered my questions about the hedgerow coming down this slip road here. You can hardly drive down there. And the other thing was, I think he also mentioned about the roundabout with the graffiti. Yeah, so thank you very much. That's two of us.
Just to pick up on the graffiti as well, to give you a bit of insight, I'll pass it to you next, Richard. Again, we're in conversations with Highways and TfL to look at a long-term solution. So they've been doing some work in Ostley on a subway where they've had reoccurring graffiti. You've probably seen it again all over the country. And we're sort of saying, what is the long-term solution? And is it a mural? Is it some better imagery of some kind? So they're going to see how it works in Ostley and then potentially look at that for the underside of... Definitely, but it's just how it works on that structure. It's more complicated than we think, so yeah. But it is in conversation, we are looking at it.
Right, okay. I haven't seen them, so I can't. No.
Nothing against you. It was arising from the 15th of June meeting in the Assembly Hall. Another resident asked what percentage of the council's fleet was EULIS compliant, and no one at the table knew the answer, and they said they would be getting back to someone at the next meeting. Of course, the meetings have been devolved or split, so I wondered if anyone knows the answer to that. Also, has there been any update on the extension to the scrappage scheme? Councillor Mitchell made a great play of his and the other councillors' communication efforts with Mayor Khan and trying to extend the criteria of those who might be eligible for something.
Well, yeah, because it's a TfL scrappage scheme, obviously with Highways, our traffic people are in communication with TfL, but they haven't had a response from them yet about any extension to that. And what was the other one? The fleet. The fleet, yes. We've still not been able to get an answer as to the fleet. Yeah. But we are still waiting for a response. When we get a response, we will certainly email you with that. Okay. Thanks.
On Forest Road, obviously we all know DPD take over the area, and there's been some work by putting some new lines on the road, which just pushes the problem onto further roads like Fernside Avenue. What is the long-term solution to DPD? I know MPC member Hotcher has been down there. I don't think much came out of that. DPD, you can't miss it. All the fans that park down Forest Road and their lorries, because they can't park their fans on the site because they're self-employed. They can't take them home, apparently. They also urinate along the road in bottles. So do taxi drivers. So really, what is the long-term solution to sort that road out? Because you can't pass down there safely in your car, and the cyclists are getting squashed, basically, in between the traffic flow.
Yeah, Councillor Guran, he logged the casework, but I will find it out, okay, the progress for it, and let you know. Thank you.
Yeah, I will also add it on that. Right, we are progressing slowly on that road. Before, it was so terrible. Now it comes at least one side is yellow line along the road, so it's becoming more difficulty for DPD to park. But the question that you raised for the long-term solution, the long-term solution is we need to speak with the traffic management in the council, then we will come up with your question answer once we get that one. Of course, yeah, the officers are already talking with the stakeholder, with the DPD management team, so hopefully we will get the answer on the next meeting. Thank you, Richard.
I've got a question regarding HMOs, which my local councillors will not be surprised that I'm raising. Oh, down here. You've seen our road mentioned by the Safer Communities team, Cromwell Road. We've had a huge problem with unlicensed and licensed HMOs in our road. Now that the council has Cromwell Road, near the police station.
Mike.
Yeah, now as of this month, all HMOs have to be licensed.
Exactly. That is going to be
especially the what are they, Group 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the Article 4 is now extended across the whole borough rather than
it has, yeah.
wards.
I
I
introduced the policy
Thank
in
you very
Hanworth, and then pushed for it to get across the whole borough.
One of the problems we have is the proliferation of HMOs in Cromwell Road, licensed and unlicensed. When I contacted the Department of Levelling Up and Communities, they said that Article 4 will allow councils to refuse applications for HMOs if there is a proliferation, whereas the planning team told me that doesn't apply but can be considered. I didn't know who was right, who was wrong in that case. Is it the government or is it council?
As far as I'm aware, the council has the right to investigate any HMO and will decide whether or not they provide a licence. And that's been the case for the last 5 years.
But will the volume of HMOs in a particular geographical location be taken into account? We're in the process of having probably about 6 houses converted in our small road. That's 10% of the housing stock. And they're basically 2 up, 2 down terraced houses which have been extended to 6 units. We've also got, which is being investigated by the planning team, of one building that was converted to a HMO, hasn't applied for a licence yet, has tenants in, not content with that, is now advertising on bookings.com as a guest house. The planning team have replied today to say they're going to investigate in the middle of August.
But I mean, you know, I don't know when they're going to investigate, but you know, if you can let us have details, then we can follow up on it.
My friendly councillors do have all the details, and I'm sure they can pass it on for me with all the photographic evidence that we supplied.
Yes, Robin, I logged the casework and the yesterday email. Have you seen from the Perth Gilmore? She replied it, the 3 new properties, they not receive any application for HMOs?
Yes, and there was another one that I sent recently, and it's come back that the number 41 that was converted to HMOs without a licence, has tenants in. That's the one that's now on bookings.com as a guest house.
I already logged the casework, and I will let you know the outcomes. Okay.
Thank you.
So are they investigating, the council? Yeah, because it's not good enough just to say that we haven't had a... Right. All right. Is there any other questions before I draw the meeting to a close? Can I thank you all for your attendance? It's been well covered in a variety of subjects. I hope that we've managed to give some answers that are available to you, and hopefully I'll see you all again at the next meeting, which is
3rd of October.
3rd of October, yeah. It's all right, I couldn't read it. 3rd of October. Here, yes. See, the venue... What?
The venue's to be confirmed, but
if you want it here, it's fine, but we need to check it's available, so we can't say it's here just yet.
Oh, this is news to me. I thought we had confirmed.
No, just for today.
All right, you'll let me know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I wish you all a safe journey home, and please look after yourselves. Thank you.